here with an impromptu video. I wasn't going to make this, but basically in my last video I mentioned I was going to be pimping this, doing all sorts of upgrades to it, and I'm sorry to tell you I've already done this to the 130 PDS without you. I didn't film it or anything. It's because I'm saving all the filming of these jobs for this one, so you will get to see it. But I'll show you the kind of finished product in a moment. First of all, though, before I put this one away, I've constructed this thing to store this telescope on, and it's like real simple. It's just a shelf with some nice pieces of, this is just packing foam from something or other, cut to shape. It has 4 swiveling casters on the bottom, so I can roll it into the corner in the warm room back there, out of the way. But I'm not using that. I'm not storing it there anymore. I'm going to be putting it on another shelf. I'll show you that as well in a minute. But in the meantime, for the jobs I'm going to be doing on this, all this working on it, taking it apart, putting it back together, this is going to be brilliant up here, just for manoeuvring it around, turning it around, just spins around on that thing. So real cheap, real simple. If you're working on a scope like this, it might be worth knocking something like that up. So I'll put that away now and you'll see where it goes. And yes, a little bit of a redesign in here. I've decided I was going to keep the scope here, so I've made a similar cradle. It's just cut pieces of, this is just what you call it, chipboard stuff that matches the walls with flocking material, like velour stuff, lining the inside, so that's nice and soft on there. Little shelf for cameras and bits, and I've still got all the desk space I need, so simple enough. Here's another little thing, this table I've been using. No, there's not the space for this table here, but I need it for projects and stuff. So even though while it's like this, the 130 PDS can maneuver around and just miss it by a whisker, I'm not going to risk that. This is a simple little fold-up thing. All it is a cabinet door of some sort, like a wardrobe or something like that. And it's on hinges, the original ones that were on it. Got a little clip up here to hold it in place. And these 2 legs just flop down on hinges. That one needs readjusting because it doesn't quite sit flat, but that's it. Simple fold down table for places where you haven't got the space. Flat against the wall afterwards. Okay, so here it is, the 130 PDS. I have, as I said, pimped it, upgraded from a stock 130 PDS to bring it more in line with what you call an astrograph, purpose made for astrophotography. I shall show you what I have done. First of all, it's not a bad looking rig, is it? Even if I do say so myself. Anyway, let's have a look at the front end first. That's just a simple dew shield. So first of all, as we look at the front end here, this is the 3D printed spider. I did mention this in my last video. Why have I put this in as opposed to the original spider? It's because we're guaranteed a central location for that mirror with a, well, CNC machined preferably, but in this case 3D printed spider. It has been finished in black paint, which is really flat, non-reflective, as has the focuser tube and the back and sides of the secondary mirror. Internally, that has been flocked, and I'm hoping it's looking pretty damn dark in there. Any light coming in from the sides quickly fades to pitch black because it doesn't continue shining down the tube. So that's why we flock or seriously blacken the inside of the scopes. Gives more contrast in your images. Moving around, I've fitted a focus motor with a little socket for the Ethernet cable to plug it in. And I did spend some time getting this right. First of all, I printed somebody else's design for this focuser apparently, and it didn't fit at all. Then I tried adapting that design to make it fit, and it did. But with that one, this motor was fitted about here, facing that way, and directly coupled to the focus motor, to the focuser. But this motor here is a lot smaller than the things like the ZWO EAF. They use the larger, more powerful motors. This is designed to work with a reduction, so it wouldn't work. I had to reduce it and put the pulley wheel on instead, so I designed this new bracket. It's just plastic, 3D printed, and because it wouldn't grip onto this itself, I figured I needed to buy then a pulley wheel, and then I figured, why should I could just 3D print one. So I did. I know I'm getting glare on this camera, I don't know if you can see this. But that just fits so snugly, so tightly over that focus knob that it extends it to an 80 tooth pulley wheel. So with that being 16 and that being 80, that gives us a 1 in 5 reduction, and that motor now moves this with the weight of the camera as and when you command it to, and it seems to go back to the right place every time. I have just not yet been able to, thank you focus, there we go, have not yet been able to test it out on a star and see if I can get an autofocus routine running. I plan to tonight because it's fairly clear out there tonight. You can see the brighter stars at least. What else? Oh yes, dovetail. I put a longer dovetail on instead of that sparkly green one they supply the 130 PDS with, which has then lengthened this and brought the rear bracket out right to the back of the scope. And this is because I have come across several instances of people having difficulty being able to balance. So trying to just adjust the lighting in here because of that glare. Not being able to balance this scope because they find it balances too far back, and with the camera being preferably hung this way around, sorry, I'm too far forward. Yeah, I always like to hang the camera down to sort of reduce the height of the whole rig so it's not having leverage work against it. Aids balancing, but in a lot of cases this couldn't go far back enough to achieve balance because of this small gap here. But by just increasing that, it adds that little bit of weight further to the rear of the scope, and it has enabled me to achieve balance with that gap there. Had I not achieved balance there, I already had an answer to it, and that is I was going to then put the guide scope, instead of on this little dovetail here, I was going to take that dovetail off, and I had 3D printed, invented and 3D printed an adapter to go over here, so I could then mount the guide scope on the back as well. But so far I haven't needed to. It seems to be all balanced and ready to go. On the very back is somebody else's design, a 3D printed mirror cap. This is because these are known to be able to leak light in at the rear end, so that covers it all up. It's only a few grams. I did adapt that actually because it had a hole in the middle for a thread so as you could remove it, but I'll come across that bridge when... No, hang on. Yeah, you know what I mean.